It's done. So we are recording. My name is Anita Marullo, and I'm a project coordinator at ICAS, European Citizen Action Service, which is a Brussels-based pan-European NGO, which is part of the Bolster Consortium, together with other 11 partner organizations, and under the leadership of the University of Tilburg. And well, most of you might be already familiar with the Bolster project if you have attended the previous events we had, but if you did not, Bolster stands for Bridging Organizations and Marginalized Communities for Local Sustainability Transitions in Europe. And this is a project funded by the Horizon Europe program of the European Union. And it seeks to, on one hand, understand the impact of EU Green Deal related policies on marginalized communities and vulnerable groups. And on the other hand, to seek to see and assess whether involving those groups in decision-making processes related to just transition increase the acceptance and engagement with transition plans. In this context, the consortium is organizing a series of 10 regional policy dialogues. Each one has a focus on a specific target region of the project. Those are regions that are going through just transition process with the support of the just transition mechanism. And but we have often also experts from the international level or from regions that have gone through economic and green transformation in the past, as we would like to gather as much as many recommendations and best practices as possible. Yeah, today we will focus mostly on the region of León in Spain, where we'll have also an expert from our consortium from the region of Halle in Germany. And the topic of the dialogue will be the role of arts and culture in the societal transformation in former mining regions. We can perhaps just go to the next slide. And yeah, before diving deep into the panel discussion, we have a couple of icebreaker questions that we invite you to respond on Slido. You can use here the credentials that you see here in the PowerPoint. And yeah, we would like to know a bit more about our attendees. So the first question is, where are you joining us from today? Perhaps we can share also. Okay, we have a majority from Brussels, but yeah, we have also Spain, second country, general Belgium, and yeah, and from our partner countries in the project as well. So we can perhaps already go to the next slide and question, and we would like to know more about your familiarity with the topic of just transition, so you can respond to this. All right. So yeah, we see at least yeah, more than half has at least basic knowledge, but yeah, we have also a good percentage of experts or with solid background. So yeah, this is more or less what we expected. So we can perhaps move on to the next slide. And yeah, before already the meeting, we have sent out a small questionnaire on Slido to gather a bit of inputs from our attendees about the topic of today. You can still respond to this questionnaire. I will reactivate it now on the Slido backend, and now it's active. Yeah, you can still change or add any response even after having sent your first answers. So yeah, please don't hesitate to respond using the credentials that you see here. Without further ado, we can go perhaps now to the next slide, and I will give the floor to Adriana Veran and Nevelina Pachova from Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology in Europe, based in Spain, who are our partners in the Bolster project, and will give a short presentation on the regional research work of Bolster in Spain in relation to the role of arts and culture in the just transition. So we can go already to the next slide, and yeah, please call for the following slides when we need. So please, the floor is, I don't know who is first, but yeah, you know, so please take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Adriana Veran. I'm a researcher along with Nevelina Pachova. We are from Aeromite Europe and are in charge of the research case in León, Spain. So we're going to share a little bit of our insights that we've gathered through our research. Next slide, please. So we're going to start with a little bit of context, and then we're going to go to more of a reflection on the arts and culture part. Next slide, please. So the research project has as main questions, how is the transition affecting marginalized communities in the just transition region in León? And how can the process be made more inclusive and just? But to understand these questions, we actually started with a wider question, which was what is actually happening in the just transition regions in León, and how are people adapting to the coal phase out? Through interviews and focus groups with several participants, we were able to kind of take a look at a little bit about the role of arts and cultures, even though it was not our main goal, but it seemed really important because we were asking people what they wanted, what they needed in the region, what were they doing to kind of move forward through the challenges they were facing. And arts and culture came out as one of the topics that were important. Next slide, please. So what we've found, and this is kind of the reality of the regions that have gone through a transition, as in León, that the coal mines closed. There was a massive outmigration of people due to the loss of just job opportunities, and that kind of led us to a sense of emptiness and feeling there are no prospects for positive change. Some frustration and feeling, where do I go to now? This outmigration and closure of jobs had some consequences. For instance, migrants and youth that were involved in the service sector were affected, and even though some women found new job opportunities, they were often insecure. So the big mine that was giving the jobs to most people left, and the surrounding services also closed. we can see also a lot of empty places and destructive infrastructure from before. And this is kind of a physical representation of this lack of care and hope and frustration that people were feeling. This also led to a reduced access to several social services that they're offered. They were not that many schools, housing, public transport, because of the lack of enough people. And then finally, there's also a kind of a refusal to accept the new situation with the mines already gone. So a willingness to go back to the situation from before, to the wellness, to the dynamism that was in the region before with the mines. Next slide, please. So, Nevelina?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've been moving around the different areas, sub-areas kind of the broader region, and we've seen a lot of actual examples of different initiatives, both from the public and the civil service, civil society sector, that started to give us a lot of hope. And these type of initiatives we could observe at the different levels. Obviously, at the central level, with the lead of the Just Transition Institute, there has been a lot of work done on opening up possibilities for new job creation, but also trainings for people to engage with the nature conservation and green area maintenance and restoration activities. But at the municipal level also, we have seen a lot of efforts done to kind of reconvert or repurpose like some of the old infrastructure left by the mines into kind of places where people could go back to and reflect on the role of the mining in the broader context. And oftentimes it is being done also through a critical reflection that of the mining sector itself and in the inequalities that already existed at that time, but also the side effects of some of the work done at that time. But even at the lower level, some other public service, public organizations, such as schools, are beginning to engage themselves and to look for a way to engage themselves more actively in this process of transition by starting to organize activities, whether hands-on festivals and engagement with mural paintings, open air cinemas, or walks in the nature linked to maybe literary routes that are related to authors from the region that are going back again into a kind of reinterpretation of the history of the places where they are currently based. Next slide, please. And from the civil society sector, we have seen a wide range of initiatives, again, linked to either looking for new ways of engaging with the local resources that exist in the region, such as opening up possibilities for livestock breeding, beekeeping, and so on, but also more entrepreneurship, small-scale entrepreneurship initiatives, as well as much more initiatives much more focused on the arts and culture, but more from a non-formal arts and cultural kind of perspective, including the opening up of local theater groups that are presenting artworks or theater works in some of the local languages, but also engaging people with reconnecting with nature through the arts and culture. And we have all reflecting actually on what the past practices could offer for the future. And we have some representatives from those initiatives here today, so that they could share with us some of the challenges and opportunities they faced in this process. Next slide, please. Adriana.
And in this context, with this very interesting actions being put forward, we ask ourselves if these actions are actually addressing the more long-term impact of the coal monoculture. And what we've seen is that being the jobs at the mines, the example of what employment should look like as a stable job in which you spend most of your life doing something and then had less time to go back to your home. There was a limited sense of and time to get involved in more like hobbies, leisure activities, and also more a reliance on others. So there was the mining industry that gave you your job and your security, sometimes even your houses. The market was all around the mines. So we've seen that this may have had a longer impact of how people connect with their passions, their leisure time, and their agency, how active they are in their own lives after having been in this mindset for so long. We've also seen that this kind of led to a disconnection to the local natural environment and even to local cultural practices that were there before the mines. So the mines kind of broke the patterns of how people were relating, engaging in their more like cultural aspects of life. Next slide, please.
So the other question that kind of emerged from while we were exploring the region was, is the current kind of focus on support to the arts and cultural sector actually enabling its transformational potential? And what we found is that there has been definitely a reduction of the opportunities for non-formal education and leisure time activities with the closure of a lot of the social infrastructure that was available before, but also the closure of like swimming pools or kids having to go then further away in order to take a music class and so on. And what we saw is that the previous mining funds for the restoration of the mining areas in León there was a strong focus on actually strengthening, so to say, the physical infrastructure of the arts and cultural sector through the construction or reconstruction of buildings that provided spaces for cultural activities. But a lot of them were very much focused on, so as I said, on the one hand, on the physical infrastructure rather than the engagement of people in the generation of those social infrastructure for the use of those spaces and the transformation of culture into a living kind of system, the rediscovery of culture as a living system and an opportunity for the region. And also now in this kind of current phase of funding opportunities, there has been again a strong focus on arts and culture. And again, we will have our next speaker will tell us a little bit more about that. What we have seen is, however, that there is still a focus on culture a bit more as a consumption-oriented activity rather than opportunities for the amateur arts and the people who are already based in the region and who are currently already setting up those little small initiatives that are trying to reinterpret the local culture. So in a way, next slide, please. So in a way, the question is a little bit how to connect those two aspects, the policy measures that are being taken to support the development of the arts and cultural sectors and the needs of the grassroots organizations and the local initiatives that are beginning to emerge in the process. And that's why we are here today. And here, just as a kind of last slide for a broader kind of question for reflection, maybe that we could consider in the discussion is, what is the current strategy actually for harnessing the potential of the arts and cultural sector for the transformation? Is there a focus on turning the arts and culture into an economic development sector, an opportunity that is aimed at bringing tourists and maybe creating more yes, economic possibilities in the region, or is it more to connect the different actors and create the communities needed actually for turning the arts and cultural sector into a driver for societal and sustainability transformations? Or are we actually moving towards a model where culture is seen as sustainable development itself through the closer connection and reconsideration of the place of people and nature? And I think with that, I would like to leave it there and pass on the word to the next speakers.
Thank you very much, Evelina, for these insights from León. I think there are very interesting questions there, and we'll take any questions from the public from when we finish the first rounds of presentations. Now, I would like to, so I invite everyone to note them down for the moment, and I would like now to go instead to the next presenter, who is Amalia Podlasewska from Culture Goes Europe, Sociocultural Initiatives based in Halle, a region of Germany, who is also a partner in the Bolster project, and we present the findings on the impact of cultural initiatives and more broadly on the green transition in Halle. So please, Amalia, now the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Anita. I hope I'll manage to make it in 10 minutes. So thank you very much for anyone who's coming for today's regional policy dialogue. My name is Amalia Podlasewska. I am the legal representative of Internal NGO, which is based in Erfurt, Germany, in East Germany. And we are one of the partners consortium of Bolster project. We also implemented research action and community engagement activities in Halle as a big city, as agglomerations and capital of the region, which is Saxony-Anhalt, where all other partners also implemented similar methodology on their region. So for this presentation today, I will be rather giving a very brief general overview of the just transition planning and funding in Saxony-Anhalt, and also to showcase a little bit of the local initiatives that we found on the grassroots levels that has been stimulating local engagement and enabling culture and activisms in the region that was impacted by the coal phase out. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this region of Saxony-Anhalt was included as one of the 4 regions in Germany, which is eligible to receive funding from European Just Transition Fund, such as structural financing mechanisms that aims to support regions and actors that are particularly affected by the transition to a more sustainable and climate neutral economy. In total, Germany received around 2.5 billion euro, which is already distributed between 4 regions: in Brandenburg, in North Rhine-Westphalia, Saxony, and Saxony-Anhalt. So the main idea of this is to create a future-oriented structural change in these lignite mining areas and in the areas surrounding it that are affected by the coal phase out. The main aim of this funding is to help restructure the economy affected by the coal phase out, but also to secure employment opportunities, as well as to provide more training and further education for the workforce as a means to overcome the challenges in the region. Next slide, please. Yes, so this region is implementing something that is called cross-fund strategy for the 2021 until 2027 funding period. So they combined several funding mechanisms such as European Regional Development Funding, New European Bauhaus, and also Just Transition Funding, which are designed and implemented together. The aim of this strategy is to make the sensible use of the synergy potential between these fundings and to be able to offer more coordinated and centralized funding in these regions. Of course, in the reality, this structure funding has led to a limited stakeholders engagement in the drafting of the Just Transition Funding Program. And there are also some public consultation which was published on the official website of the state, which has involved mostly the submission of written feedback of the already consolidated draft. So there has not been many of these participatory aspects of how the drafting of the program has been carried out. Yes, exactly. So the funding itself in Saxony-Anhalt divided into 3 periods, and the region has received around 1.68 billion euro for significant investment in business-related infrastructures, which is kind of one umbrella with another federal government funding. And they are also creating some sort of working groups that are supporting several sectors such as education, economy, research and innovation, greenhouse, gas neutral energy economy, and attractiveness of the revier, which is the area where the regions has been impacted by the coal phase out. Next slide, please. Exactly. So similarly with the other partner projects, we also implemented our key. And this has been the first phase of our study, which we focused on the perceptions of different actors in the transition, which was also driven by the need for recognitions of the concerns of the different individuals and the group. So in total, I think as the consortium, Nefelina has mentioned that we conducted interviews with 120 actors from 110 organizations in different languages. Next slide, please. So particularly in the region of Saxony-Anhalt, the stakeholders that were mainly involved in the discussion around the Just Transition program were a mix of government agencies, civil society organizations, businesses, research institutions, educational institutions, and small-scale enterprise. However, if we take closer look at the civil society organizations, we also see mainly organizations that are focused on young people or migrants backgrounds, or people or organizations that are focused on the trade unions that represent a large part of the people that are directly affected by the just transition. Exactly. So in terms of organizations that work with these groups, there are several organizations working with culture and art, but not limited to that, because the main concept is about integrations and activating of the local engagement of the regions that are in fact impacted by the coal phase out. Next slide, please. Exactly. So we do have this broader concept of marginalized groups that we are working with, where we also examine the challenges and opportunities experienced by each of the communities in Saxony-Anhalt study regions. We did interview with the representative of the community groups from October 2023 until January 2024, which also implementing photo voice and focus group discussion parallelly as one of the methodology that we implemented. Next slide, please. So as a part of Bolster project in general, we also implemented the community leaders training, which aims to engage local forums members, especially the organization that represents the groups that were affected by the local just transition. And these 35 community leaders were expected to bring the skills and let's say, the competencies they do during this capacity building through the exchanges and brainstorming to bring it back to their regions and then start to reactivate their local communities, and based on some exchanges and competencies that they have learned or figured it out during this moment. And then this is also one of the activities belonging to the projects that we called as Reactivate campaign. Next slide, please. Yes, and parallel to this capacity building, we also implement a study visit in Germany, where we visited cities around the coal phase area that are impacted by the coal phase out, but also to learn what kind of strategy the grassroots initiatives and local initiatives had in hand in order to reactivate and to capitalize on their local resources and to create the network within the regional structure and connections in this region. And we did this in September 2023 with the aim that after they get to know about some case studies and lesson learned, they kind of taking it back to their local engagement initiatives, and then to get a little bit more of some ideas or stimulants on how they could initiate their own local activation. Next slide. Exactly. So when we take a look at more into the grassroots level, we did several interviews and a focus group with young people, but also women with migrant backgrounds, but also people who have been impacted directly with the coal phase out. Some of them were kind of connected in terms of their local interference, meaning that they are organizations that are connected to each other. And we collaborated with these two organizations on the grassroots level. However, their involvement into the issue of climate change is rather general, because in reality they are more kind of dealing with daily situations of these target groups. So they see the climate issues as something that is irrelevant while they are still dealing with their basic problems. So that was one of the reasons why the approach of these local initiatives are mostly using education, culture, and art in order to integrate the climate issues into the discourse and conversation of the meetings, for instance. So one of the areas that we are working on is located in the city in Halle Neustadt. They are also dealing a lot with the rising vacancy rate, and they have a lot of housing stocks that are being renovated and trying to improve the quality of life of the residents. So these areas have been also stigmatized with a lot of criminalities and let's say conflicts between ethnical groups. And we are working with these two organizations that are trying to kind of bring more alternatives and offers to the people that are living in the community. Next slide, please. Exactly. So some of the local engagement that we did are very much, let's say, hands-on. So we did collaborations with the local initiatives, but also trying to understand what they need in order to address the challenges and their perceptions about the just transition, but also trying to understand what are the current issues surrounding these challenges that they have to face in the daily encounters. As I already mentioned, that we try to offer, for instance, young people the opportunities to develop their own ideas, such as community projects, while also trying to understand their needs, challenges, and the visions of the future, which is something that is very difficult to facilitate in the long term. Next slide, please. On the other hand, There are also some more active representative of young people that are already very active and engaged. They are part of the Friday for Future members. They are part of youth activists. Some of them are even having to initiate some sort of young club, youth club in Halle inner city, and they even initiated the city campaigns activities. So even within the young people, they have a very diverse view and perceptions on how they see the just transition and their involvement for the discourse of climate transition in their cities. Next slide. Yeah, so we also sometimes question ourselves how to bring these two groups of people together in this type of discourse, although they are, the young people that are, let's say, some of them are more privileged young people, being aware to the climate issues as opposed to the more marginalized young people who do not see yet the relevance of the issues because they are still dealing with the social and family structure, school stigmatizations, and having a bit more pressure on dealing with the daily life. However, the idea is really to bring these conversations more in the soft level in terms of introducing these conversations based on cultural activities, maybe some campaigning that relates to the issues of urban gardening, because this is some activities that they would like to try out. So it's not directly connected to the green transition, but however, the questions about, greening the city and then creating or enabling them, let's say, to bring people together and also to learn something about green skills and environmental management that is started from the very local level to bring the conversations up front. Next slide. Exactly. So we also find out that for most of the young people who have been aware of these issues, that they learn that social justice is preconditions for just transition and just transformation, because there are some inequalities that are impeding the acceptance in the green transition. And they also notice that collaborations with the local organizations and starting with small initiatives is much more feasible to tackle big problems, and it's more about bringing people together and to raise the awareness. Next slide. And this sentiment we also found in migrant women with whom we are working together with and collaborate with in the local initiatives. So they highlighted the importance of the need of open space for the community to bring people together, because as I already mentioned, that they live in a very stigmatized neighbor area where social encounter is very limited. So they would like to learn something about domestical, let's say, skills in terms of learning how to plant some herbs or vegetables, and this is something that they can bring people together and then to bring their family as a kind of consequence of these activities. And then this kind of space of encounter is also enabled by cooperations with another local initiatives. The idea is that to bring more of this educational level, but also with cultural awareness on how to create more intercultural activities between the migrant women, but also with the community surrounding it. And this is something that we have started from last month, and hopefully this will go on until the end of this year. So this is a part of the local initiatives that we found out that this woman representative need. Next slide. Yes, of course, the goal is to create the encounter space, the meeting space that can foster the empowerment, the social connections, the green skills and educations with the community, And they also we also try to offer some empowerment and skill buildings, community buildings and educational opportunities, because most of these women have had challenges in terms of their limited participations and lack of representation, and they also don't have access to resources. They don't have the lands in their living area. So this is one of the way to kind of enable them to access the land in order to cultivate this land, but also bringing them the opportunity to think on how they can kind of, let's say, capitalize on some of the outcomes of these encounters. Some of them have had an idea of creating some art piece from the garden, and trying to balance their responsibilities also with their home and domestic responsibilities. So this is something that that we come up with when working on the grassroots level. Next slide. Right, and then another local grassroots that we are working with is located in another city, which is called Zeit. This city has been impacted quite directly with the coal phase out, because they have a sugar factory which are depending on the coal production, and when the coal has been stopped, the sugar company has been closed, and they lost a lot of workers as well. And we initiated the local activation using some local grassroots who are reactivating an old library. So the old library was kind of sold to this organization, and then they tried to kind of bring more programs into this space. So there are a lot of empty spaces in this city, which the organization were trying to reactivate. But one way to do it is really to bring people together and then to kind of initiate with ideas, and basically to try to reach out more of the people who are otherwise forgotten of this process. So of course, this is something that we noticed that there has been a lot of frustrations as well, due to the fact that far-right extremisms has been kind of giving challenge in terms of dialogues and skepticisms towards the climate issues in this region. However, we try still to kind of making it still open to the communities around, to invite them into bringing some ideas. So one of the activities that are going to be implemented, if you go to the next slide, please, is to create an exchange workshops and a climate festival, and to bring the topic and this theme for the community insights. So this is something that the local grassroots activists has been brought together during our reactivate campaigns, and they kind of showing that okay, what is needed from this, for this society, for these communities, to really understand that there has been something going on in this city, that we are in the just transition phase, and we want to have a dialogues between the communities and people around us. And then this is a part of actually the future and vision, where the city itself has been chosen, or like as a city model for sustainable urban revitalization. So this is something that the grassroots try to let's say bring more people together in order to have these conversations moving forward. Exactly. So this is some of the initiatives that we found on the ground around the discussions of the just transition. I think that will be my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amalia, for this presentation. Indeed, so that highlighted very well, I mean, the challenges of engaging local communities, but also indeed like the importance of grassroots projects, as well as looking into revitalization opportunities. And with that, we go to Concepción Fernández, who is the director of Fundación Ciudad de la Energía in Ponteferrada, if I'm correct. Yeah, and we thank you very much, Concepción, for joining this dialogue, and we're very interested to know about the role of cultural spaces and institutions in this revitalization at urban, but also at rural level. And yeah, thank you again for joining, and please, the floor is now yours for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about two spaces which were industrial landscape in an old power station, and we transform an old industrial landscape into a cultural environment. You can, next slide, please. Here we can see these places from industrial territory to cultural landscape. We can see a largest white building up, and it was Compostilla 1. It was a thermal power plant run with coal. Nowadays it's La Térmica Cultural. It's a cultural space. It was the first Endesa coal-fired power plant. And then below we can see the building with chimneys, and it was the first oldest power plant of 20th year. And now it's La Fábrica de Luz Energy Museums, which is open since 13 years ago, and we have divulgation, dissemination, and scientist activities. And also we have another project. These two buildings reclaim the mining past. How was the energy production, how the energy production has marked the history and character of the territories and the identity of its inhabitants. That is why the context of these spaces and exhibition of the Térmica Cultural and Museo de la Energía revolve around energy, coal, and the ecological transition. We search to preserve the memory while facing the challenges of the present. Another thing that we do in our cultural area is La Recicladora Cultural, Cultural Recycler, which is a project that seeks to promote culture through the reuse of museographic elements and the deposit and roaming of exhibitions, promoting environmental sustainability and the fight against climate change. Our goal is to promote sustainability in the cultural sector, collaborating with museums and other cultural spaces, both public and private, and with special attention to the promotion of culture in municipalities of just transition and demographic challenge. So this is one of another project we are running now. And we always have the mission of preservation and dissemination of our heritage. And we also promote culture in areas of just transition through the touring of exhibitions, among other activities. Please, the next slide. First of all, I'm going to talk about La Fábrica de Luz, Museo de la Energía, Energy Museum, and we can see here some key dates, like the building restoration, because it was an old annual light factory, and we opened to the public in 2011, and then we received the European Nostra Award, and then in 2015 we were known as European Museum of the Year. We had the nomination of the EMYA. And in 2022, we were called a cultural interest site, big, and we have part of the European Route Industrial Heritage area. So next slide, please. Now we can see some activities that we do in this museum, like different exhibitions, and we have an education program also for students of different levels and different educational levels. We have scientists and technological educational activities for these students. Then we also have cultural events like concerts, theatre, cinema, and so on. And space rooms also, we have different activities. We have also guide visits to know how was this generation of electricity. And we have an audio guide, and we rent spaces. You can rent our space for publicity or whatever event. So next slide, please. Here we can see a photo of the old power plant of Endesa, where Endesa was born here in 1949, and then it was closed and we opened La Térmica Cultural. Next slide, please. This in white and black, and then we can see this picture in color. The opening of this space last year, in March of last year, and we have transformation the power station into a cultural center with different activities. Next slide, please. Here we can see different places of this La Térmica Cultural, of this space. We have an experience, which is we can experience on the left, Fin de la Térmica, start up a thermal power plant with virtual reality. We can experience what it was like to start up and operate a coal-fired power plant. And it's a really amazing experience because you can see all the turbines, the thermal coal, all the power plant. Then you can see on the right a big collection of tree fern. We have the largest collection of arborescent ferns in Europe. These ferns were brought from New Zealand, and we have an experience here with augmentative reality. It's a really good experience where you can travel to the Carboniferous period that gave rise to coal. So here nature coexists in the industrial space, and we can see the origin of the coal with these firms. So it's an amazing space and a very singular, unique space. Next slide, please. Here we can see another rooms of this space, of this cultural space. Here we have different routes. Next slide, please. Here we can see another part of this power plant. It was the old turbine hall. Here there were the turbines, and now it's a big space with 1,400 meters. So it's very big. And here we have a flamenco festival, for instance, last year. We have music of different kinds of music, dance, theater. We have events. This is a place to rent also. So we have here different activities. Next one, please. Here, another of our goals is to itinerance exhibitions. So this is a picture where we can see the exhibition itinerancy that we do in the just transition zones. We have this itinerancy with virtual reality that we share with another just transition zones, and also we interchange this exhibition. So we can see another exhibition of another place, and this exhibition can be saw in another places also. Small cities, and I think it can reach the experience. The other slide, please. Here we can see another picture of the Térmica Cultural, this big space, which was that largest white building that I showed you at the beginning. Here is with lights at night. Next slide, please. And here's some statistics of our visitors. Last year, in 2023, we had in La Fábrica de Luz, Energy Museum. We had 5 exhibitions. We have more than 7,000 students, and almost close to 3,000 people in guide visits, and close to 30,000 visitors. And in the La Térmica Cultural, this place, which opened in March of 2023, we have received close to 26,000 visitors. So I think we have good statistics. Next slide, please. Well, here I'm going to tell you about an example of dynamizing the territory with this program, Dinamizar TJ. Here, there are cultural activities and cultural initiatives in just transition zones. You can, next slide, please. This program, Dinamizar TJ, was created as an initiative of the Institute for Just Transition to generate a broad cultural offer in the municipalities, towns, regions, cities affected by the closure process. to generate a wide cultural offer in the municipalities affected by this closure of coal mines and thermal or nuclear plants. So it's an opportunity to give another experience with culture. Last year, in the first edition, we have just close to 85,000 people who have enjoyed of this program in all spaces public in just transition zones. We have given employment to 4,500 people, and we have the artistic performances have taken place in 600 municipal spaces. So I think we have a very good dates. Then if you can play this video, because I'm sharing with you this video that I think is does it work? No. Sorry, I would like to share the video. Are you too?
Yeah, I think we are trying to do that, but possibly it's not working. Maybe we can
Okay. Here.
play it. Let's see if it works, because yeah, normally it's a bit problematic with the audio.
Because I think it sums up very well.
Una oferta cultural amplia en los municipios afectados por procesos de cierre de minas de carbón y centrales térmicas o nucleares, identificadas como zonas de transición justa, gestionado a través de la Fundación. El programa Dinamizar nace en 2022 como una iniciativa del Instituto para la Transición Justa para generar una oferta cultural amplia en los municipios afectados por procesos de cierre de minas de carbón y centrales térmicas o nucleares, identificadas como zonas de transición justa, gestionado a través de la Fundación Ciudad de la Energía. Este programa busca dinamizar la actividad cultural de los territorios y favorecer visitas a los municipios, contribuyendo también a su oferta turística. Además, los intérpretes y artistas pueden encontrar en Dinamizar una plataforma para impulsar sus carreras artísticas, facilitándoles oportunidades profesionales. El programa Dinamizar comprende una convocatoria para artistas y ayuntamientos de zonas de transición justa, de la que nace un programa cultural propio, eventos y representaciones en zonas de transición justa de todo el territorio nacional y una amplia programación cultural que puede disfrutarse en la Térmica Cultural y en la Fábrica de Luz Museo de la Energía en Ponferrada. Y mucho más está por llegar. Dinamizar.
So that's all.
Thank you very much, Concepcion, for this very interesting presentation, which I think gave an overview of the existing initiatives in León. And so are there now any questions from our attendees? You can raise perhaps your virtual hands at the bottom of the screen, or typing in the chat. So we have a question I see in the chat already now. In many just transition regions, decision makers focus too much on infrastructure, economy, etc. Do you also get pushback from locals who would prefer such efforts to improve culture gets instead put into job growth or similar first? Anyone from our presenters wants to respond? Concepcion or the others?
I think if you make an effort with culture, then you can development economic also, because if you have some things to see, to do, through culture, and then more people is coming to this area, more people is going to sleep here, to go to restaurants, so the economic is going to dynamize. So, and I think culture can generate more employment also. So I think it's a way to dynamize economic situation and to generate another employment.
Thank you, Concepcion. I see a question in the chat again for Nevelina. If about sustainable development, the concept of cultural sustainable development, if you could provide one or more example of action out of that.
I think actually probably also some of the speakers that we will have in the roundtable can give us some nice examples of that. But I think the main idea is to try to reconsider the role of people and humanity in the context of nature and the broader sustainability transitions and transformations that we are trying to move towards. So that in a way we try to use culture not as a way of generating a new unsustainable way of living and developing, but a way that is much more connected and respectful and caring for nature and the environment around us. And yes, I think with the examples, I would leave it for the initiatives that are coming up to share some of those, because I think they are good examples of how they're trying to connect both arts and culture as a way of reflecting on our relationship with each other, but also with the nature around us, and in this respect as a way of transforming our way of living in a more sustainable way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Novelina. And indeed, we are a bit running out of time, so I will take one last question. I see that Amalia had raised hand, so perhaps she can take the floor.
Yes, I think I would like to respond to the first questions by George about the pushback from the locals about just transition that has been focusing too much on infrastructure and economy, if I may, because this is something that we often find on the grassroots levels. First of all, the just transition funding is not well aware or well communicated properly in the region. So we have German concept about it, we have German term about it, but it's not very well communicated. So a lot of people do not understand what just transition is all about. What they know is that there is a coal phase out, there is a green transition, and less about this. So only big companies and big organizations who are predetermined to apply for funding that are aware of this just transition funding. That also implicates into the funding program itself, where there are not so many program or funding that is allocated for culture per se. what they do in Saxony-Anhalt is that they have the cross-funding strategy. So they implemented this funding together with New European Bauhaus and another regional funding where culture and art can be integrated into this. However, it's not much of reaching the local grassroots or local levels that are working already with the culture and arts and educations on the ground. What they have to do is to create a consortium, and they're already like very tiring and complicated application process that they have to deal with if they were about to apply for, let's say, New European Bauhaus Just Transition funding. So the pushback is rather about the questions of the bureaucracy and administrative process that are very exhaustive. And to do that, they need to kind of create collaborations with the local network and consortium. And of course, this also only apply for, let's say, bigger institutions who have been already exposed to the idea of culture, in the sense that they're also more familiar with the process of recultivating the culture as one way to stimulate the local growth. So they are usually already very existing or established cultural institutions that already notice about this. And what we are trying to do is also to kind of give awareness to the local smaller organizations, so they can reach out, bigger networking agencies, or even to create the possibilities of applying for funding in order to initiate more local cultural activisms on the very grassroots level. And this is very much difficult to navigate and to investigate that such thing exists. So yes, this is what I can say for the Saxony-Anhalt region. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amalia. So yeah, I think we need to move on to the next speakers. But yeah, if there are other questions in the chat, I mean, our presenters are very much welcome to answer there in written form. So we now go to indeed our speakers that are very much implied in local action. And we have Mario Cañizares Herbón from Association Sangre Minera in Spain, and then Santiago Asenio, President of A Plena Cultura. Bruno Guadalón Garcia instead had a few impediments today to join the meeting, so perhaps he will join a bit later. But I would like to start to hear shortly about the experience of Mario with the Sangre Minera and the work on promoting and documenting the revitalization of mining sites. I will ask both our speakers to try to be a bit short with their presentation, so that we can also have some panel discussion. So Mario, now the floor is yours.
Hi to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present our project, Sangre Minera. And first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Mario Cañizares Herbón, a collaborator of Sangre Minera and the son, grandson, and nephew of miners. It fills me with pride to be part of this initiative aimed to preserving and truly understanding the mine, which has been the backbone of my family for many years. Our mission is to preserve and promote the rich mining culture of region, which has been deeply affected by the closure of our mines. This initiative is driven by retired miners and local community members who are passionate about maintaining our heritage and looking for a vibrant future for our area. How did all this started? Well, the Sangre Minera initiative owes its inception to the documentary made by our founder, Javier de la Viuda. This documentary showcased the past, present, and the reality of mine and its people in the central Leonese mountains. The success of the documentary played a key role in mobilizing the local community and giving support for the preservation of our mining heritage. It inspired the residents and brought attention to the region, enabling us to initiate several more projects. These projects aim to further celebrate and sustain our cultural legacy, and we are optimistic that they will succeed in relevating our community and preserving our history for future generations. Next slide, please. Which are the pillars of Sangre Minera? First, we have the intangible culture. We aim to keep the traditions, stories, and spirit of our mining community alive. This involves documenting and sharing the experiences of our miners and their families, ensuring the future generations understand and appreciate our heritage. Second, we have the material resource. Utilizing the physical remnants of our mining past, we are developing spaces and resources that honor our history. This includes the preservation of mining equipment and the creation of or reconversion of places to learn about it. And third, we have the community revitalization. Our project focuses on revitalizing the local towns affected by mine closures by doing some cultural and outdoor activities. Next slide, please. Well, one of our biggest projects now is the immersive mining experience. Our association is proud to offer an immersive and educational mining experience. At the heart of this initiative is our school mine, or Mina Escuela, a facility historically used to train miners before they enter the actual mines. These unique settings allows visitors to understand and appreciate the skills and challenge faced by our miners. What does this experience offers to the people? Our immersive mining experience offers several unique and impactful aspects that make it a standout initiative in preserving our heritage. Next slide. This experience is, first of all, an impactful experience, as you can see in that woman's face. The visitors are guided by former miners who share their real life stories and situations they encounter while working in the mines. Another important part is the original material. A key focus of our initiative is the preservation and use of original mining materials. We emphasize maintaining our authenticity of mining equipment and tools, allowing visitors to see, handle, or even use the equipment that once was an integral part of the mining operations. Also, the authenticity, as I have already said, our tours are conducted by individuals who have the first-hand experience in working in the mines. Visitors explore the actual sites where miners were training and providing genuine feel of mining environment. And of course, the community support. Our initiative is strongly supported by our local community. Many local residents have embraced the project, volunteering their time and resources to help us in various ways. Next slide, please. The school mine is not only a site for historical significance, but also a multidisciplinary training facility that serves various practical purposes beyond education. We have established connections with professional rescue teams of our zone to conduct advanced training exercise within our school mine. These collaborations enable us to offer a practical and professional training scenarios that are critical for rescue operations. For instance, one of the key training exercises we conduct is a zero visibility drill. This drill simulates the conditions where visibility is extremely limited, training rescue teams to navigate and operate effectively in such a challenging environment. Next slide. And just for a conclusion, Sangre Minera is more than a project, it's a movement to honor our past while building a sustainable future. Although Sangre Minera might seem like a small project in comparison to larger initiatives, its significance cannot be overstated. We believe that the value of a project lies in its ability to demonstrate how dedicated community can come together to preserve and celebrate its heritage. And just in the next slide, we have our social media, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario, for this interesting introduction. Yeah, I think we can go now to our other panelist. Just a second. So we have we will have Santiago, president of Plena Cultura, together with Arsenio, and I will just unmute them so they can take both the floor. Yeah, we have Santiago and Alejandro, actually. So we can start, I guess, with Santiago or with Alejandro, with whoever wants to talk about the community work of Plena Cultura.
Well, hi, I'm Alejandro Asenjo. First of all, thank you very much for giving us the chance to introduce our project here. And it's very interesting to learn about other initiatives in similar zones across Europe. Well, we are started in 2020, a non-profit organization, and our core is mainly to encourage and develop the cultural life in small villages who had a past in coal mining, and the transition which was clearly not enough for those zones. So well, we have our main core is nature and culture, and also well, we would like to encourage social and cultural life in those villages, which the average age, let's say, it's usually quite old, and we try to get them to socialize in some with different initiatives. One of it's we have created a couple of libraries in 2 different villages. One has over 8,000 different books, and the other one is mainly focused on poetry. Both are located in El Bierzo in León. Yeah. If you go to page number 6, please. Yeah. Well, yes. Please, next slide, please. Yeah. Well, we have also get the residents to help us with this initiative, because otherwise it's not possible. And well, we have created, let's say, a template that can be exported also to other different areas across Spain or even Europe. So next slide, please. Yeah, as I was commented, this is one of the libraries we have created. It's located in Villamartín del Sil in El Bierzo in León, and it's 3 years. This summer we will have the 3rd anniversary. It's open 1 day a week by a village resident. They are volunteers, and in case anyone needs to get any book any other day of the week, the key is always available for those who need it. So next slide, please. We have also in the bar of the village, we have every week we change 1 book, so the book is there for the whole week. We share in social media and even in WhatsApp in WhatsApp distribution list. We send the book and the topic of that book. Usually, this has to do with with the news or even with the past of the zone of the area. Sometimes it's maybe a cookbook for the people who are interested, and well, we change it and it's always available. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the other library I was mentioning before. This is regarding poetry. This is now currently under construction. And well, it's an old house in a really small and nice village in El Bierzo, which was donated to the village for this purpose, and it's been refurbished and now it's under construction. So next slide, please. This is another initiative. We're getting small libraries, let's say, for free book exchange. These are located in rural areas. Also, we have some in towns. And well, this is a widely known initiative. It's you pick one book, you leave one book. It's for free. It's always available, and we always need the collaboration of at least one person of the village who takes care and looks after the looks for this small library. And yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, this is some of the places we have said the small libraries. We have more nowadays because this was last year. But yes, next slide, please. Yeah, well, this is different activities we have performed regarding these small libraries. So well, next slide, please. This is another one of those. So next slide. And yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, this is another of the different initiatives we collaborate with. This is held every year in El Bierzo in León. This is a poetry festival, let's say, which gets poets from all over the country. Even some years they have come people from different countries, and it's in a beautiful forest, and even there's an open mic for people, local people, and or anyone who comes to just to play the poetry. So next slide. There are other initiatives here. Yeah, next slide, please. Well, this is pictures from different years. Next slide, please. Well, next slide. The different poets who attended. Yeah, this is another presentation. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is also book presentations held in different places. Yeah, and well, if you pass to next slide, I think we have another initiative. Yeah, well, this is another poetry festival held in a different place. Next slide, please. We have also summer cinema for kids and also for old people, related with the traditions of the area of León, like like in this case. And if you pass next slide, I think we are finished with the presentation. Yeah, we also held a workshop regarding the mushrooms and well, showing the people the different types, even how to cook it, and this was done last year. So I think that's all. Santiago, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Thank you very much, Alejandro, and other guests. For me, is a complete activity from our no-profit association, and we are very happy to do these activities in all little villages of León and other villages and other province. For us, nothing more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to both for showing, I mean, the variety and the importance of these grassroots initiatives. So I think now we could go to some panel discussions, and we have prepared some slide questions. Actually, they are the questions that were also in the survey for our attendees, and we would like to discuss them with our panelists as well. So I will ask my colleague to share the screen again and show the slides. And of course, the public can still respond to those while we are talking. Okay, we can go then to the first question. I mean, some of them have already been touched a bit in the presentations, but yeah, it's interesting to dive deeper. I think we have some issues with the PowerPoint. It's active, so just try to scroll it. And, so just 1 minute and we can get it there. Okay. You should be able to show it. You can go to the next slide. Oh, okay. So we have some issues, I'm being told. So just a moment. Let me try.
Anita, maybe you can read the questions and the panelists can respond.
It's a bit of a problem because now slide is not working, so I cannot actually read anything. So what I can do is try to share my own screen. Maybe Savannah can unshare, and hopefully it will get in the recording. I'm not sure it will. So I will share them. First of all, the PowerPoint. See. And Okay, but that's a bit problematic though. Just a second. We have to make a little break because it's not working. I'm sorry. So okay, can you hear me and see the questionnaire here?
Yes, thank you, Anita.
Okay, that's great. I cannot see any speakers this way, but we can try to see each other, to talk. So the first question that we had for both attendees, but for the speakers in premise, it's what is the role of arts and culture in fostering social inclusion and transformation in your regional country? And specifically, what we would like to dig a bit deeper in is if those play any role in fostering inclusion of marginalized group, and if actually, I mean, how does it happen? I mean, what are the main challenges in involving those groups through arts and culture? Is it difficult? Is there any resistance, and so on? So I will ask my colleagues, I think, at this stage to give the floor to the speakers who wants to take the floor. Because I cannot see anyone. And so, yeah, if anyone from the panel can respond to this question, so please go ahead.
Well, if it's okay, I will answer.
Yeah.
Well, in our case, we find sometimes some pushback regarding this, but I think it's key for the development of the region and even the people there. But not every time is understand it. But I think working together with everyone and trying involving everyone, it's key for this, and getting the people, trying to get in the people understand what really means and what does what can imply for them for the development of the area. It's key, and when people understand that, they get engaged in the initiatives. But at the beginning, it is true that yes, there's some pushback.
Okay, anyone else, even from our consortium, wants to add on develop on that? Or maybe Concepcion wants to add anything?
I can add shortly that arts and culture, in a way, get people to connect with each other, and that's a way to foster social inclusion. That's a very important way. So you get to have spaces in which people that may not be that present or have so much voice can express themselves. So arts and culture is a way of expression and connecting people, and it also gives people a sense of agency and creativity to address new problems and new challenges. So that can also lead to a transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. And can my colleagues please unmute Concepcion that wants to take the floor? Can you authorize them to?
Now,
That's
now
great.
I can.
Thank you.
I think that art and culture promote social participation, cohabitation, education, and it creates spaces for social interaction and generates culture exchanges which promote economic development and therefore the improvement on the economic and social situation of the area and social inclusion. So culture and art generate awakened minds that think, that understand other cultures, other societies, and therefore contribute to a more pluralistic and inclusive population. So here from La Técnica Cultural, we offer this kind of activities and cultural activities that we think and we hope to be a space to share and to the interaction, to generate social redes, and I think it's positive and for the social inclusion, for the transformation of our country with the culture. Because we think we practice science, we see another cultures. So it's a very enrichment experience.
Thank you everyone for these answers. And yeah, I don't know if there is anyone else, otherwise we can go to the next slide or question, perhaps, which is a bit similar.
Maybe I can jump in here. I don't know if I'm kind of advancing.
It's okay. I think it's okay.
Because it may be more related to some of the follow-up questions, but I just wanted to note that, I mean, it's not so straightforward. I think enabling the possibilities that arts and culture provide for social inclusion and transformation, partly because there is the concept of culture can be understood in many different ways, and depending on how you approach it, I think it can include or leave some people out of the discussions and the opportunities that are being created. And one of the notable kind of distinctions could be the focus on high culture versus folk culture, for example. And we have seen that there have been a lot of attempts to transform some of the cultural heritage in the region into possibilities for more, I guess, high cultural type of involvement and participation. But there is also the need for these more folk-oriented kind of culture and amateur engagement through the arts and culture. And we need to be to make sure that there are opportunities for both types of engagement, so that people in those areas can really engage and share their voice through these opportunities.
Yes, indeed, this is a bit the challenge, and yeah, what we will. I think we need to go to the next slide now. I think I have to go myself to the next slide. Sorry, I was used to not doing it. Yeah, I think, yeah, there is one question that I don't see here. Sorry. Here we are. So, I think there is something also not going, but yeah, it's okay. Yeah, indeed, it's yeah, we have already touched a bit on that. The question was, what are the challenges to harness the transformative power of arts and culture in your region or country? To me, it's also the question is also about what are the strengths and weaknesses of arts and cultural initiatives. Basically, what is the impact, but also what's still lacking. For instance, I mean, you mentioned before funding, but also like capacity. I mean, how do you see the process of exploiting the power of the initiatives? Does anyone wants to take the floor?
Maybe I can jump in a little bit here. This is also something that we often discuss during our community engagement, local activations in our region. The challenges that we are facing at the moment is simply the perspectives of resources, not only the financial resources, but also human resources, because on the other hand, it is already challenging enough to initiate the grassroots of what Nevelina has mentioned, the folk school culture, like very grassroots culture that is initiated by the people from the ground. So we do have here something very institutionalized, such as classic Stiftung, or like classic foundations of Bauhaus, for instance. But on the other hand, there are also a lot of alternative culture that are needed to be expressed, and this is by the need of the people. And now the question is whether it is sustainable enough for them to stand alone, or to some extent that certain collaborations is required, but there is no clear perspectives on how it will be benefiting for the long terms. It's either the financial limitations, or also many of the cases is the human resources that are very much depending on how people are mobilizing, around this culture, the alternative culture. It's also due to the fact that the regions is a shrinking region, so a lot of people are moving out. So when they know that there has been some attracting factors outside of the region, these people are moving out. So it's very difficult to keep the energy intact and to provide the perspectives based on the existing resources that we already have at this moment. One of the way to address these challenges or issues are through the cross collaborations between the high culture, let's say, and also to address what they cannot address within their initiatives that the local grassroots culture can otherwise help to, supporting each other. Basically, this is mutualisms that we are trying to discover of the alternatives. Yeah, this is something that I can share, at least from what we have been facing in our region. Thank you.
Thank you indeed for sharing this, which is a pattern that is recurrent also for other sorts of initiatives tackling marginalized communities, not limited to culture, but But yeah, all kind of initiatives addressing the social dimension. Is there anyone else from the panel that wants to complete on this? I don't know, maybe, I don't know, Alejandro or Mario, from whom we have not heard. Did you find any obstacle in carrying out artistic and cultural initiatives with, let's say, societal impact, and I mean, what was the scale and also the level of impact, and on the other hand, what's missing, I think, in your initiatives or others that you have observed that to be more effective in societal change.
For example, one thing that I miss is, for example, like this initiative today, like have a place for the local initiatives to be shared and even to get engaged between each other. And I mean, like from an official point of view, in a local way, not like this. So maybe there are some. Yeah, there are some common links that could be benefit from different initiatives, and if we knew each other, I think that would help us a lot, and also, of course, that could be more help from some local, regional government. So that's my point of view. And also the bureaucracy is a little bit tricky sometimes.
Yeah, that's understandable, and this is, of course, of common problems of linking the different level, no, from the EU, the national, regional, as well as the grassroots level. But yeah, is there anyone else from our panelists that want to contribute and take the floor? Otherwise, we go to solution, possibly, rather than challenges.
Maybe just again to jump in here and to build on what both Amalia and Alejandro mentioned, that there is a need to see the sector as an ecosystem. You cannot see it just as maybe the artists or the spaces or the donors. It's an ecosystem of actors that are all connected, and there is a need to really enable those connections so that other new ways of seeing and acting in the region could emerge through new ideas and inspirations.
Yeah, hopefully there will be new ways and indeed inspirational initiatives. So I would go to the next questions that looks more on the solution perspectives. Just okay, so yeah, we would like to dig a bit deeper on what can local stakeholders, so civil society, policymakers, and companies do to really leverage on the transformative power of culture in the just transition context. And here, yeah, anyone from the panel who wants to start? I mean, if you have any recommendations or any good examples, but we have already got a few presentations on that of like initiatives like from local stakeholders that can really boost the power of arts and culture in the societal transformation. Anyone wants to take the floor?
I think that money is very important. So giving money to do things is a very important thing to promote and to transform the society, because you can have ideas and you can want to do things, but you need an economy support to do that. But also we have an example that I showed you before, the Dinamizar TJ. This program is an initiative for the Institute of Just Transition, and this program aims to generate a wide cultural offer in municipalities affected by the process of closure or facilities in transition just areas, and contribute to the dissemination and promotion of the performing arts through performances and artistic activities. So it can be a way, but this program is possible because it is supported, but it has an economy supported. But it's what institutions can do by transforming and by dynamize the cultural activities.
Thank you very much, Concepcion. Anyone else from our bolster colleagues, for instance, do want to add anything on that?
And sorry, the idea of an ecosystem, I think it's very important that you said before, because I think we have to be connected, all institutions, artists, visitors, and if you generate that ecosystem, I think we are doing well things, because in that case, you have the space, you have the space to the dialogue and to talk, to express yourself, to offer arts. And I think institution can do that, can can offer that spaces of I don't know the word, para el encuentro, to join people.
Yeah, to put together people and have something new coming up. Do we have anyone else that wants to complete? Maybe, I don't know. I know that from our project we have also we are starting community projects that we are piloting on those sides. So I don't know. Is there anything else that Nevelina or Adriana wants to add?
Maybe just to use this opportunity actually to mention that on the 19th of June we are organizing one of those spaces for reflection, and we in Ponferrada, and we would like to also use this opportunity to invite everybody from the region who is close by or able to attend to join the event. We can share the link now in the chat or later on maybe in the email communication. And yes, exactly. This is the aim is to bring together different actors from the region and to discuss with them how we can work better together and how we can make those connections that we were talking about, so that so that we can make use of the possibilities that this arts and cultural sector, among others, allow us provide for the transformation of the region.
Yeah, we see that cooperation between actors is always very important, and yeah, this is a primary goal also of our projects. Yes, we can go now maybe to the last question, and then we can see if also our public has other questions to discuss or anything to add. So yeah, this is about if anyone, and I think can be first, again, our colleagues from Bolster, but also anyone else who was in the panel, as any recommendation about what can the European Union do to support arts and culture in fostering societal transformation in just transition regions. Of course, I mean, the first thing that already was a bit mentioned, I think, by Amalia is basically, yeah, the fact that funding is earmarked to certain aspects and rather than others. But yeah, are there any actions in your view that at EU level can be done to foster this process? Anyone wants to take the floor? No? Okay, then maybe we can see if there was any question in the chat. I will unshare the screen now. Yes.
I don't know if I can jump in then maybe on the question related
please.
to what you could potentially do. I guess, well, there are different ways of taking it, but one of the important ways is the question of scale. And as we were talking about, like this formal culture versus the small-scale grassroots initiatives, making opportunities for small-scale initiatives to engage with the process and facilitating the processes of this type of engagement is an important opportunity or important prerequisite, so to say, for the flourishing of grassroots, bottom-up engagement with these ideas and with this sector. Yes, the other one is in a way for the EU maybe potentially to consider a more integrated concept of culture when putting together the guidelines for their for the different programs, funding programs and options that they have, because right now they do seem to be very divided into sectors, like the funding aimed at promoting the economic development, funding that aimed at promoting maybe entrepreneurship, funding for the more sustainability and environmental initiatives, and funding for culture as a sector within the sustainability kind of context. And I think there needs to be probably some new opportunities that allow for the type of initiatives that are connecting all those different concepts and sectors with a more transformative view of reconsidering the role of people and communities in the process of sustainability transformations.
Thank you, Evelina. I see that there was previous questions that maybe was not answered. It would be nice to answer now. That was about how to justify the money spent on the older population. It says, for example, in certain regions, older people are grieving the sudden loss of value that they can offer due to mixture of change in economic condition, infrastructures, yeah, I mean, how this is addressed, I mean, in areas like León or other areas that are studied in Bolster, and yeah, I mean, what are the issues that are specific of this group? Anyone anyone, maybe still Evelina or Adriana, but also, I mean, also Alejandro, Santiago, I think are working quite a lot on that. So if you want to take the floor, it would be great. Does Alejandro wants to say anything on this?
Sorry, could you please repeat the?
Yeah, I will actually copy paste it in the chat because it's a long question.
Thank you. Yeah.
And maybe it's easy to copy paste it again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I saw this question before. Well, I mean, in this case, even in culture, the justification doesn't have to do with the economic return on investment or rentability. I mean, we are talking about culture. We are talking about making people's life better. Like we are talking about education. So of course, it's easier to justify the other investments. But for example, in this case, in the region we are speaking about, we have all the average of age population. So in this case, there's no easy justification, but it's an initiative that that makes people's life better, and of course, it's not always about economics. And in this case, even I have to say that cultural investments in these regions is not just people don't see it, but it brings also economic for the place, economic advantages for the place, and even you can bring population to the different villages. So I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, I think you definitely answered. Yeah, did it say that it's complex also because I mean there are several groups that are affected and yeah, interests and needs may be very different, and of course, yeah, also like displacement of young people plays a role on that, which is yeah, another issue. Let me see another question in the chat. Yeah. Yeah, of course, yeah, I don't know if anyone also in the panel wants to comment on this or previous issues, but yeah, there is the fact that of course the burdensome justification of like use of funding as sometimes as a like conflict with the human aspect, like that is dealt with by grassroots initiatives, and yeah, this is of course a big issue, and the effort of simplification is not always successful from what we know. Anyone else wants to comment or add anything on to what was discussed so far? And then maybe we can wrap up.
Maybe, yeah, just to say that I fully agree with this last comment that kind of highlights the importance of people and their needs that go beyond economic opportunities. And to say that that's exactly what we are trying to find out. What are those needs of people that go beyond having a job or access to a job, and how can we facilitate how can we bring actors together and encourage and enable them to try to respond to those needs? And yeah, thank you for really raising that, because I think that that's the core, in a way, of the discussion that we are having here now, I think. And yes, with the bolster initiatives, that's what we are trying to do, trying to showcase or to give people the space to experiment with how can those needs beyond access to a job maybe be addressed through small-scale community initiatives. And we hope that towards the end of the project, we will have some results to share. But this is also an issue that's linked to the way, in a way, success is monitored. And this is very much, again, linking up to the question of the role of the European Union, because a lot of the maybe this push towards an economic oriented justification is driven by the need to show quantifiable results and impact of some of the money that's being invested in the regions. And the more qualitative ways of changing people's lives are much harder to capture and to show. And now in the remainder of the Bolster project, through those small-scale initiatives, but also through a reflection or an attempt to develop this type of more small-scale qualitative ways, small-scale qualitative approaches to capturing impact, in a way, is one of the next steps of the Bolster project that we are just trying to get into. So hopefully, again, towards the end of the project, we will also have something more to share along these lines that could also help to potentially shift the higher level discourses on this, so that they could move away from a purely economic focus.
Thank you, Neil. And indeed, I mean, Bolster took the big challenge of looking into this aspect, and we hope it can give some contribution to the reflection around that. Is there any questions from the speakers or the public, other comments? No, I don't see anything else in the chat and any reason. So I think we can now wrap up. We had a very good discussion about the challenges and the potential of culture and arts in the just transition process at the regional level, but also broader EU level. And I think, yeah, what was very interesting is to see that we have patterns that are common indeed with other, let's say, initiatives and projects that tackle the social dimension of the transition. Indeed, one is resources, the other is funding, the other one is the societal, let's say, fabric that due to the transition is changing, of course, and yeah, displacement, lack of proximity services is also affecting that. But we see that, I mean, leverage on culture for creating a different ecosystem from the mining or like the polluting industrial sector is definitely the solution, as well as cooperation between stakeholders. As usual, it's a big recommendation. So yeah, I think it was a very interesting discussion, and I want to thank you very much all our panelists and presenters for the great presentations. And we hope to see our next policy dialogue. That would be probably in September. And in the meantime, we will publish within a couple of weeks the recordings of this dialogue in the Bolster YouTube channels. It will be shared to you together with a small survey, possibly. Yeah, thank you very much to everyone who participates, and I wish you a great day.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentations and comments.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.